Hi and welcome to Knitting on the Float. My name is Tracy and I'm your host. I am coming to you from a gray but kind of bright gray day in the Vancouver area. The days are starting to get a little bit longer and the skies are starting to look a little bit brighter. I find that as we get close to the winter equinox, the sun tends to be a lot lower in the sky and we're starting to get it just a little bit higher. No sun today, but that's okay because I have lots to share with you and sometimes the sun gets in the way when I'm trying to share some of the fun yarny things that I have. So I'm okay with a bright gray day today. I hope that you have had a fantastic week wherever you are and that you are ready to sit down, take some time for yourself and get ready to work away on your project of choice while I chatter away about what I've been up to this week. And this week, there's been a lot going on the couch. So I'm excited to share that with you. Before I get to all of the knitting that I've been up to this week, let me tell you where you can find me. I am Tracy RR on Ravelry, and I am at Knitting on the Float on Instagram. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. This is a podcast where I mainly talk about knitting. Sometimes other crafts jump in there, but this week it is all about knitting, so welcome. And if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. I am so happy to have you joining me on the couch. I know you have your cup of warmth or cool, whatever it is that you need today, and you have your project of choice. You are ready to take some time for yourself, sit for a while we have a little chat about what I've been making this week. So welcome back. So it is now time for tea time, and this week I am drinking out of my fun Rendale Designs mug, and this one says, I don't want to tip it too much, but it says Mum on the inside, British Mum, M-U-M, and the tea I am drinking today smells absolutely delicious. It's a new to me tea. I received a brown paper package this week, and in that brown paper package was some tea. So I got this lovely tea tonic, traditional chai. This is not what I am drinking. I am drinking Australiana tea, and this one is lemon myrtle, sage, and eucalyptus, and it smells absolutely delicious. It smelled amazing when I opened the tea sachet bag, but I have to tell you, in this cup, it smells divine. So let us cheer to trying new things. Cheers to that. I have taken a good sip, so now I can safely share the little bit of Mum right there on the inside. Often the Rendale Designs mugs have a little picture of an animal, so you'd have a little fox or something in the smaller ones, but this one, just for me. So no boys in my house should even try to use that one. I have to say, a perfect choice for today. I'm feeling a little bit congested and hoarse, so the Australiana with the lemongrass and the eucalyptus and the sage is perfect. So one more little sneaky sip, and let's move on to the 4 projects that I have been up to this week. So I have 2 new cast-ons, I have a finished object, and then I have a work in progress, which you have seen before. So I will start off with the work in progress that you have seen before, and that is living in my gorgeous Alice in Wonderland bag made by my friend Christine. And I didn't do a whole lot of work on this, but I do have it partially off the needles right now. So for my second block of my Goose Eggs quilt, so the Goose Eggs quilt is a blanket pattern by Danielle George, who is Little Bobbins, and I have completed 1 block already, and my goal is to try and do 1 block per month till September and then do the I-cord edging. So at the end of the year, I hope to have a full size, well, a 9-block blanket. So I am using for this block this beautiful sparkly skein of Arundel, and this is a singles with stellina in it, and this is by Nora George Yarn, so Arundel. And my color, and each of my blocks will either be Arundel or Cobalt, and then the blocks will have different La Bien-Aimée colors in them. So this block is featuring Amy's Shawl by La Bien-Aimée, and this is on merino singles. So lots of fun. And last week I had just pulled the stitches onto the second triangle in Amy's Shawl, and I have now finished that triangle. So a very, very slow progress to my February block, but the big part is, well, it's not on the needles now, but it has been started. So that's a feat in itself sometimes. So I've been using my beautiful Corner of Craft stitch progress keepers, stitch marker progress keepers, whichever you want to call it, to let me know which is the right side and sort of keeps me a little bit more oriented. And I love these because they're so lightweight and they're fun. I love those beaded progress keepers. Anyway, that is my Goose Eggs Quilt Block 2 so far. And of course, I have thrown my yarn on the ground because it's not a podcast if I don't throw something on the ground at some point. So this will go away for a little bit well, I'm hoping next week I'll have a little bit more progress, even if it's just one more triangle to show little bits each day or a couple times a week, get things done. Anyway, that is one of the projects that got a little bit of love. The next project I am going to share with you, I cannot share much. This is a new test knit, and it is in one of my lovely bird leg bags, and I have to carefully show you the inside fabric of this bag. It's lots of flora and fauna, and bunnies are in there. There's a little bunny right there, another bunny right there. So just a fun bag. I always love Vicky's bags. And this one has a lovely little beaded pull on it as well. This is a test knit, so I can't say too much, although I did share my yarns last week. So maybe I'll talk a little bit about the yarns that I'm using. I am using Nora George yarns, and this is a BFL sock called Afterglow, and it is so colorful and fun. So this is in the skein, and then all caked up, same colorway. So fun to see when it is wound up, what it looks like, and kind of looks like a whole skein full of every single color in the world. So there we go, there we are. That's one of the colors that I'm using. And I'm also using Miss Bab's Yummy two-ply toes, and I've got rainbows, all the rainbow colors. For that, I have this beautiful magenta. I have used some red so far, and I have orange ready to go. And it is definitely knitting up very, very nicely, but for now remains a secret in my lovely, lovely bird legs bag. So secret test knits, they are definitely fun, but there's only so much that I can share. So for now, that is what I can share. So let's move on to the next project. The next project I'm going to share with you, I am very excited to share with you. This has been something that has been in my queue for quite some time. I have had the yarn set aside knowing exactly what I wanted to use it for. It was just a matter of making the time and casting it on. So this was my Valentine's Day cast on. By the way, this was my Galentine's Day cast on. So I had one on the 13th, one on the 14th, and I am finally knitting Morticia, and this is a sweater pattern by Andi Satterlund, and I absolutely love her sample in this black with the stockinette center trunk section and then the mesh arms. I absolutely love the look of this sweater, but I wanted to do it a little less gothic. So I'm not going with black, and I don't think my eyes would forgive me if I did go with black. And Project 1, Project 2, and now Project 3 are all featuring Nora George yarns. So it is a Nora George week, it seems. I am using this gorgeous, gorgeous Sweet Pea. This is a Cloud Decay. It is alpaca, silk, and cashmere. So it is just such a soft, soft yarn to knit with. So right there, Sweet Pea, Cloud Decay, and as I mentioned, alpaca. I think it is 70%, 20% silk, and then 10% cashmere. And there are 225 meters per 100 grams. And I have 6 skeins of this yarn, which I purchased because I knew I wanted to make a sweater. So I have finally cast on, and I have made a start. So here is the back of my sweater. I have joined the shoulders, and I now have a rolly bit front of my sweater as well, which has gone and turned itself around in a funny way. But it is slowly making progress, but oh my goodness, I am loving how this is knitting up. So what I did was I wound up 2 of my 6 skeins so far, and they match pretty well. I mean, they are all from the same dye lot, but because they are hand-dyed yarns, I will be doing some alternating. I did the back in just this skein, and then when I picked up the shoulders, I used the other one. And then when I join once I've joined in the round after doing the armholes, I will then start alternating. And I'm not sure whether when I get to the sleeves, whether I will just do 1 skein per arm or whether I'll alternate. I think it'll be a little bit more complicated because of the mesh lace, so I might be best just to try and hopefully be able to use only 1 skein per arm. I guess we'll see how the yardage goes. And I absolutely love the arms on these. This balloon sleeve that cinches in at the cuff. So a beautiful pattern. I am sad to say that Andi Satterlund's patterns are no longer for sale. She took them down. I think the last day to buy them was on New Year's Eve. I did stock my library with some of her patterns because I just find her patterns are fun to knit and I love her designs. Hopefully they will resurface one day, but for now they are unavailable. And if you have Morticia in your library, you are lucky, as am I. Anyway, I'm very excited to work on this and share progress on this in the weeks ahead. And I hope it doesn't take me too long because this is so soft and squishy, and we're still in February in the Northern Hemisphere. Well, even though I am trying to get in some Australiana, a nice warm cozy sweater is a good thing, I think, at this time of the year. Anyway, this gorgeous Sweet Pea is, oh, look at these beautiful shots of purple. And, oh, I love this colorway. And as I mentioned, the yarn is so soft and squishy. I am looking forward to working on it, getting it off the needles, and wearing it very, very soon. So I've got motivation. Anyway, this, I didn't mention, this is a beautiful bunny bag that my sister-in-law gave to me a few years ago. I love it. It's a nice big bag, especially for a sweater. And I've also got the bunny theme happening inside my bird leg bags. So, and look at this. Of course, Alice in Wonderland. There's got to be a white rabbit here somewhere. I see the March hare. I guess that's the white rabbit. He looks kind of gray. The final project that I'm going to share with you is a finished object, and this pattern hasn't been released quite yet, but it will be very, very soon. The testers are just finishing up with it. I still have to take photographs of me wearing it, and in fact, today will be the day that I will finally put it on. I've blocked it, but I haven't actually tried it on, so I will have to do that for you. The yarn that I have used for this project is Confetti, and this is by La Bien-Aimée. I seem to have a theme going on. I've got rabbits in my project bags, and I'm using Nora George yarns and La Bien-Aimée yarns pretty much for every single project that is on my table. So I have used this gorgeous gray bow. So matching the weather, things are getting a little bit brighter. And oh my goodness, this has knit up so beautifully. And it's also blocked out beautifully. This pattern is the Arconia sweater by Amy Loudon. And Amy is Tailoress Studios on Instagram. And I have even put my name tag in it. So here is my finished sweater. I also have popped one of my little tags down there. Such a wonderful and simple pattern. I did learn a couple of new techniques with knitting this pattern, which was really nice. And I think this is going to be a sweater which will be very classic, a very simple, warm, cozy sweater. So while I was talking about my Morticia being cozy, this one is already done and is definitely a warm and squishy, snuggly sweater. So it features a rolled down turtleneck, and that is attached on the bottom. And I went a little bit longer in the body. Amy's sweater calls for about 2 inches shorter, but I decided that I wanted to be a little bit longer because I'm a little bit older than Amy, and I just don't feel as comfortable in the shorter cropped sweaters. So I went with a 10-inch instead of an 8-inch length, and then have the 2.5-inch 2x2 cuff. And let's try this on. As I mentioned, I haven't actually tried it on since I blocked it. I had it on the mats, and I took some photographs of it hanging, but I actually haven't put it on me yet. And here we are. So fits nicely here, and as I mentioned, I wanted it a little bit more hip length. I always love how I put my little tag on the left side. So I'm really happy with where it's just a little bit below my belly button. Here, I'll walk behind the couch. It's kind of hard to film here. So standing on my tiptoes, I'm really pleased with how this fits. And I have to tell you, it is super, super warm. I was feeling a little bit cool in the house earlier, but I think if I wear this for the afternoon, I will be too hot. But this will be perfect for going outside and walking along the docks. And it has blocked out so beautifully, and it's soft. I'm really pleased with how the Confetti feels. It's so soft. I will tell you, I cheated when I blocked this sweater. In my old house, I had a sink which was specifically for blocking. Here, if it's small, I can put it in my bathroom sink, but we don't have a utility sink like we had in our old house. So I find doing bigger items a little bit more challenging. So I actually put this in the washing machine on the delicate cycle with some eucalyptus, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I was a little bit nervous, but it actually washed up beautifully. And the nice thing about it was I wasn't having to squish out. I was hoping to get it dried fairly quickly because drying space is also limited in the float house. So because it went through the front loader and it did get a lot of the moisture out, I was able to just lay it down, and within a day it was fully dry. But yes, I absolutely love how the little confetti bits have knit in. There's a few that kind of stick out a little bit. This little purple one is sticking out. I've got a blue one sticking out on my front, but for the most part, they're actually inset really, really nicely. But oh my goodness, this is a nice, cozy knit. And again, this is the Arconia sweater by Amy Loudon, and this pattern will be released very, very soon. And just a nice classic sweater, and it's going to get a lot of wear. I still need to get photographs of me in the sweater. My boys always cut off my head with the camera when I try to take photographs, so I don't know, we'll hopefully get them very soon. And I still haven't done photographs with my Macaulay cardigan either, so maybe I can get both of those done. Anyway, this beautiful Arconia sweater is now off the needles, and those are the projects I worked on this week. So good to have a finished object in there, and I'm looking forward, now that I have finished my Arconia, to working on my Morticia, and hopefully my Morticia will take a short amount of time like the Arconia did. Anyway, that is all for my favorite things this week. It's now time for brown paper packages, and this week the mailman brought me a most wonderful parcel, and as I shared already, it came with some lovely teas. And this Australiana tea, not only is it delicious, but it provides 3% of my iron intake for the day, so healthy too. This parcel is from the lovely Karina, who is the dyer of Louie and Lola Yarns. And back in October, I had just finished the anthology wrap as I was test knitting it for Helen Stewart. And mine was a 5-color version, and I had done it all in pinks. And when I shared it with Karina, she just thought it was beautiful. So I thought, you know what? I think this would be a perfect prize for her breast cancer fundraising initiative, the Hope and Sunshine Fund. And she thought so too. So we pulled that together really, really quickly, and it ended up being a prize. And as a thank you, Karina has sent me a lovely parcel. And in that parcel was some of Karina's highly sought after merino possum yarn. So this is merino possum DK in the colorway Alexis, and oh, it is so, so beautiful. It has 271 yards or 248 meters. So both of these, I've got just under 500 meters. I would love it if you can give me some suggestions for something to make. I don't make a lot of stuff with DK, but I definitely want to make something really, really special with this. So if you have any pattern suggestions for something to make with about 500 meters of DK, I would appreciate it. Anyway, this was in my parcel. And oh, so squishy, and that color is just glorious. So So lovely. And I always miss the updates for the possum yarns. And also in that parcel was the Hope and Sunshine sock set. So this was the colorway she designed specifically for the fundraiser. And Tracy Miller of the Grocery Girls designed a sock pattern and knit it in these colors. So the main color and then the two minis. So this is so beautiful. And I have to say, in many ways, Karina's yarns remind me of Viola yarns. They have those little speckles and just beautifully dyed. She is such an amazing dyer. Now, one thing I didn't mention was many years ago, and I think this was just before Karina started her hand dyeing. She might have been just sort of playing around with dyes at that point, but we did a yarn swap several years ago, and part of the parcel I received had some Zelana Air, I think it was, and it was a possum yarn, and I knit a pair of socks out of it. I did one of my test knits for the Sock Society out of it, and knitting with the possum was so lovely. And then the yarn knits up and makes the most beautiful, soft, warm fabric. So I'm definitely looking forward to working with some possum again. And oh, look at that, like this. It's almost like that brown and pink sort of look to it. A little bit of brown in that pink with the possum being natural fur being brown. And oh, just so lovely. So any thoughts? I would appreciate them. Anyway, the most wonderful brown paper package. And I'm not sure what I will make with these. Maybe, probably socks with some nice highlights. Still thinking on that one, and definitely would appreciate your thoughts on what I should make with this beautiful Alexis Merino Possum DK. Anyway, a wonderful brown paper package week, and this will keep me squishing yarn for quite some time. It's now time for Bits and Bobs, and this is my segment where I talk about anything and everything not necessarily knitting related. And I have to say, this week was mainly about the knitting. 2 new cast-ons, a cast-off. I wanted to get the Arconia test knit done. And I guess I haven't been feeling 100%. I woke up a couple of days this week with a really bad headache that just stayed with me all day. And on Tuesday morning when I woke up, it was a beautiful sunny day, which normally would have been wonderful. But because I had just a headache all through here and behind, I don't know whether it was a migraine or I just wasn't feeling very well. But the reflection off of the water, and when you live literally on the water, it's a bit of a challenge when you've got a headache, and I thought I should just go sit in my room where, you know, with the blinds pulled down and just knit in my room, but I didn't. I did sit out here for most of the day and struggled with the light, but I did make it through. Took a couple of Aleve. Don't know that it helped all that much, but yeah, I don't get headaches very often, but when I do, they tend to be real doozies. But so I had a headache on Tuesday morning when I woke up, and also yesterday morning. So I don't know whether it's a change in weather pressure or something on the West Coast, but I wasn't feeling quite myself this week. But lots of knitting did get done. On Monday, I took Isaac out, and first off, we went and signed him up for a swim instructor research course because I'd like to have him remain current in his swimming qualifications. And so we got him signed up for that. And then I took him to that lovely little village called Fin Slough. And I shared this one with you, back in, I think, April, Greg and I went out for a Vespa ride, and we came across this little village. And I guess you want to call it's a little tiny set of houses right on the water, and a little different from float houses because they're on stilts, but it's such a neat little community, and we hadn't taken Isaac to see it, so I took him to Finslew. And when we got there, we met this woman who lived in one of the houses, the one with all the neat little signs. And I asked her, how do you pronounce it? And she said, I said, is it Slough? Is it Slough? And she said, or is it Slough? And she said, it's Finslew. So if a resident tells me that, I am going to believe them. So we went to Finslew, and then Isaac thought that was a really neat community. And then afterwards we went to another community called Steveston, which isn't too far from Finslew. And I just like saying that, Finslew. And Steveston has a British shop. I didn't realize they had a British shop, but I was able to pick up some nice curry chicken pies for supper, and I got a little British candy for my neighbor for Valentine's Day, and Isaac picked up some British chocolate, but I did notice they do sell my Yorkshire blends in the bedtime tea, the biscuit brew, and the toast and jam. So they had a good supply of that. Plus, they carry my favorite Marks and Spencer in the extra strong, that's the blue box, and they also have it in the gold. So it's a little bit closer and a really cute little community. So I think that will now be where I go when I need to restock tea. But I will tell you, I don't think I need to restock tea for quite some time. But it was nice to get out on Monday, and it was a beautiful sunshiny day. It started off gray like this, and then by the time we were heading home, it was sunny. So you just never know what the weather's going to be like around here. And again, maybe that ever-changing weather is what sparked off my headaches this week. When we got home on Monday, I was coming down the ramp, and I saw something go in the water like this, and I thought, oh, what is that? And I thought it was a seal at first. And it was very close. It was just actually right behind you, between my neighbor's house and my house, in the little tiny water spot that are the people who own that lot. They're having their house built, and that'll come in the spring, which I'll be very excited to share that with you. But yeah, I thought it was a seal, but the seals don't usually come so close. There's usually only one seal, although last week I saw two together. But usually he's solo, and he's a little bit farther out, and I don't see him all that often. But then I realized that it wasn't a seal. It was not one otter, but two otters. And they were just playing just off of the houses. And I've never seen otters on the river. Did I grab the camera and grab that footage quickly? No, I totally forgot. I went down to give my neighbor his little treat that I had bought him. And then when I came back, I thought, oh, I'll get the camera, but they were gone. But yeah, there were these two little otters. I got the binoculars out, and I could see that they had the fur. And then a few moments later, I actually saw the seal a little further out. And so when I was talking with my neighbor, he had said that there's a type of fish that are just starting to come downstream right now. And so we'll see a lot of the seals, the otters, and a lot of the birds. So there's been a lot of gulls, and the eagles have been flying overhead because there's a lot of these little fish just going downriver. So hopefully in the next little while, I will be able to capture some otters on film for you. I thought when I started getting ready to set up for the podcast that I wasn't going to have any footage, but just as I was setting up, I did capture this that I will share with you right now. I was thinking I wasn't going to have any footage from the float this week. I did see some fun otters the other day, but I didn't capture them. But I do have a little bit of footage, and it's not tug away here pulling these logs. It is actually right here there is a little motorboat pulling a tugboat. So usually it would be the other way around, the tug pulling the motorboat, but I guess this guy has found himself a tugboat and is taking it somewhere else. So we've got this little motorboat with this cute little tugboat behind. He's doing quite well, actually. Guess he's got a pretty powerful motor on that boat, but look at that cute little tuggy. One day, maybe it will grow up just to be like Tugaway and have the ability to pull all of these logs. I don't think I'll hold my breath though, but oh my gosh, isn't it absolutely adorable? A little tiny tuggy. Some weeks are quite quiet on the river, and others there's lots going on. We are actually we're going into a very low tide cycle. I have shared that on the podcast before. We are hoping we are not going to ground, but the next couple of days we are going to go quite low, and last night was very low as well. Anyway, I'm hoping to catch some otters in the next little while. I'll keep my eye out and keep the camera ready so that I can capture that. The eagles have been soaring around. I think they are starting to nest, and I was looking at the dates last April. Around the middle of April, that's when we first started seeing the baby goslings. So soon we will be seeing some ducks and baby geese, you know, another month and a half away, but hopefully soon. I haven't seen the swans for a while, but we also haven't been feeding them, so they've been missing in action, although last year at this time they tended to stay away for a bit too, so maybe they're starting to do some nesting as well. I do hear that the otters, when they are around, they come up and they'll come from underneath and maybe grab a duck or a baby goose. So I don't think I want to capture that kind of footage. We'll see. Anyway, I think that's all I've got for bits and bobs. A bit of a slow week, but definitely lots of knitting happened, and that's a good thing. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I hope that you have had a chance to sit down, relax, get a good chunk of work done on your project, and whether it's an old whip, a new cast-on, I hope that you are loving it. I am looking forward to another quiet week ahead. I do have a few things planned, but I am hoping that for next week I have my photographs taken of my Arconia, and that I have some more progress done on both my new test knit and on my beautiful Morticia sweater. I can't wait to see it all done up in that beautiful sweet pea color. I think that'll be a really fun version of it. Anyway, I am wishing you the most wonderful week ahead, and I look forward to sitting down with you next week and chattering away, and I will see you then. So have the best week. Bye. I don't think it's quite fair to leave you with a behind the couch sweater view. So here is a proper view of my Arconia sweater, and with my lovely little tag there. I didn't show you the close-up of that one. That is the little lamb on one side, and then on the other side it says made by Tracy. And then of course there's the one inside that also says it's made by me, so nobody can make that mistake. Anyway, this sweater is, oh, so warm and cozy. Amy has written up a beautiful pattern. As I mentioned, I've learned a couple of new techniques with this sweater. I'm really happy with the length. Right now I do have a shirt underneath it, but it could be worn with either a camisole, or I could probably wear this without a sweater or like another shirt underneath if I wanted to. Cozy, cozy. All I need to do now is take some photographs, but I'll get to that. Anyway, much better to share this with you. Oh, I didn't share the back. I'm very, very pleased with this sweater, and again, it deserves a better view than from just behind the couch.